Check out carmarshal.com. The link is in the description. They help support us.
An armed deputy who failed to confront the gunman in last week's deadly Florida shooting resigned Thursday. Scott Peterson stepped down rather than face suspension after an internal investigation showed he did not enter the school when the rampage began in Parkland. He was the only law enforcement officer present, and police say video showed him take up position but never go into the school.
Scott Peterson was absolutely on campus through this entire event. He was armed, he was in uniform.
And when the local sheriff was asked by reporters what Peterson should have done,
went in, addressed the killer, killed the killer.
Officials are looking into whether more could have been done to prevent a shooting that killed 17 people. They say former student and suspected gunman Nicholas Cruz is still the priority. Authorities have said that Cruz made his getaway moments after the shooting by blending in with students fleeing the school. As police arrived on the scene, they thought the gunman was still inside. Based on a security camera feed they thought showed them real-time images. It was actually footage from 20 minutes earlier.
It added to some confusion when it comes to that because the officers that are in the school trying to find him were given inaccurate information.
Police insist the mishap put no lives in danger. 2 other deputies have been placed on restricted duty over their responses to a number of calls and reports about Cruz received by the local sheriff's department over the course of a decade.
Supreme Court has affirmed cops have no duty to protect citizens and Parkland proves it. By the Free Thought Project, March 3, 2018. Rutherford Institute, in the American police state, police have a tendency to shoot first and ask questions later. In fact, police don't usually need much incentive to shoot and kill members of the public. Police have shot and killed Americans of all ages, many of them unarmed, for standing a certain way, or moving a certain way, or holding something, anything that police could misinterpret to be a gun, or igniting some trigger-centric fear in a police officer's mind that has nothing to do with an actual threat to their safety. So when police in Florida had to deal with a 19-year-old embarking on a shooting rampage inside Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, FLA, what did they do? Nothing. There were 4 armed police officers, including 1 cop who was assigned to the school as a resource officer, on campus during that shooting. All 4 cops stayed outside the school with their weapons drawn, 3 of them hid behind their police cars. Not a single one of those cops, armed with deadly weapons and trained for exactly such a dangerous scenario, entered the school to confront the shooter. 17 people, most of them teenagers, died while the cops opted not to intervene. Let that sink in a moment. Now, before your outrage bubbles over, consider that the U.S. Supreme Court has repeatedly affirmed, most recently in 2005, that police have no constitutional duty to protect members of the public from harm. Yes, you read that correctly. According to the U.S. Supreme Court, police have no duty, moral or otherwise, to help those in trouble, protect individuals from danger, or risk their own lives to save we the people. In other words, you can be outraged that cops in Florida did nothing to stop the school shooter, but technically, it wasn't part of their job description. This begs the question, if the police don't have a duty to protect the public, what are we paying them for? And who exactly do they serve if not you and me? Why do we have more than 1 million cops on the taxpayer-funded payroll in this country whose jobs do not entail protecting our safety, maintaining the peace in our communities, and upholding our liberties? Why do we have more than 1 million cops who have been fitted out in the trappings of war, drilled in the deadly art of combat, and trained to look upon every individual they interact with as an armed threat and every situation as a deadly force encounter in the making? I'll tell you why. It's the same reason why the Trump administration has made a concerted effort to expand the police state's power to search, strip, seize, raid, steal from, arrest and jail Americans for any infraction, no matter how insignificant. This is no longer a government of the people, by the people, for the people. It is fast becoming a government of the rich, by the elite, for the corporations, and its rise to power is predicated on shackling the American taxpayer to a life of indentured servitude. Cops in America may get paid by the citizenry, but they don't work for us. They don't answer to us. They're not loyal to us. And they certainly aren't operating within the limits of the U.S. Constitution. That thin, blue line of loyalty to one's fellow cops has become a self-serving apparatus that sees nothing wrong with advancing the notion that the lives and rights of police should be valued more than citizens. The myth of the hero cop really is a myth. Cops are no more noble, no more self-sacrificing, no braver, and certainly no more deserving of special attention or treatment than any other American citizen. This misplaced patriotism about police and, by extension, the military, a dangerous reshifting of the nation's priorities that has been reinforced by President Trump with his unnerving knack for echoing past authoritarian tactics, paves the way for even more instability in the nation. Welcome to the American police state, funded by corporate America, policed by the military-industrial complex, and empowered by politicians whose primary purpose is to remain in office. It's a short hop, skip and a jump from the police state we're operating under right now to a full-blown totalitarian regime ruled with the iron fist of martial law. The groundwork has already been laid. The events of recent years have only served to desensitize the nation to violence, acclimate them to a militarized police presence in their communities, and persuade them that there is nothing they can do to alter the seemingly hopeless trajectory of the nation. The sight of police clad in body armor and gas masks, wielding semi-automatic rifles and escorting an armored vehicle through a crowded street, a scene likened to a military patrol through a hostile city, no longer causes alarm among the general populace. Few seem to care about the government's endless wars abroad that leave communities shattered, families devastated, and our national security at greater risk of blowback. Indeed, there were no protests in the streets after U.S. military forces carried out airstrikes on a Syrian settlement, killing 25 people, more than half of which were women and children. And then there's President Trump's plans for a military parade on Veterans Day, costing between $10 million and $30 million, to showcase the nation's military might. Other countries that feel the need to flex their military muscles to its citizens and the rest of the world include France, China, Russia, and North Korea. The question is no longer whether the U.S. government will be preyed upon and taken over by the military-industrial complex. That's a done deal. It's astounding how convenient we've made it for the government to lock down the nation. Mind you, by government, I'm not referring to the highly partisan, two-party bureaucracy of the Republicans and Democrats. As I point out in my book Battlefield America, The War on the American People, I'm referring to government with a capital G, the entrenched deep state that is unaffected by elections, unaltered by populist movements, and has set itself beyond the reach of the law. I'm referring to the corporatized, militarized, entrenched bureaucracy that is fully operational and staffed by unelected officials who are, in essence, running the country and calling the shots in Washington, D.C., no matter who sits in the White House. This is the hidden face of a government that has no respect for the freedom of its citizenry. About John W. Whitehead. Constitutional attorney and author John W. Whitehead is founder and president of the Rutherford Institute. His new book Battlefield America, The War on the American People, Select Books, 2015, is available online at www.amazon.com. Whitehead can be contacted at johnw@rutherford.org.
County, this is Charlotte County Cop Watch, and I wanted to explain what fair use is. You can use pieces of news articles if you're doing it for news reporting, you have commentary, and you're doing it for education purposes. So that's what fair use is, as you can see right here. Another reason why I wanted to make this video is to let you know I have just joined with Patreon. A nice thing with Patreon, I make no money on YouTube. They took the money away years ago, and so this is another way to give, and it's a nice thing too because you can give monthly. You can give $1, $5, $10, whatever. I do 4 to 5 hours a day on trying to wake the sheeple up on how corrupt it is and different ways that you can fight the corruption. So Patreon is a way that you can do it, and then of course the old way is still there. Donate to Sheriff County Cop Watch with PayPal or credit card. So keep that in mind. 4 to 5 hours a day. I make no money, but the corruption happened to me, and I'm sick of it. So I'm trying to wake people up. But my wife would love it if if we could get some help out there. There's 47,000 subscribers. Just think if each one of you subscribers just gave a, let's say, actually, yes, $1 a month. 47,000 subscribers gave $1 a month. That would be awesome. That's not going to happen. But anyways, that would be great if it did happen. But do the math in your head. Just think about it. Like I said, 4 to 5 hours a day. I get no money from YouTube. YouTube has gone nuts. You can't do anything anymore. They're taking the money away everywhere. So these are a couple different ways that you can still help out with all this time that I put in. And as you know, I'm in a special situation where, at least I can do it. 4 to 5 hours a day. We have a cleaning company during the day. That's what allows me to do this, and we're debt free. So this is my hobby. I don't go fishing and all that other crap. I try to save the world. So help me out to make the wife happy, man. In fact, if you guys did give $1 a day, and there was 47,000 of you, and you did it, and each of you gave $1, and that was every month, oh my God, yes, I could quit. I could start suing them. Another idea too that we have is, if I got, some funds, we could actually contact everyone that has been ticketed and or arrested and put in jail and start sending them postcards to let them know we're here, and to see if everything went all right, and if it didn't, find out their story. So we could even do more investigations and more lawsuits. Lawsuits take money. So just think about that. 47,000 of you so far right now. $1 a day. $1 a month on Patreon, or $5 a month Patreon, 10, 20, whatever. Just do the math in your head. Help out. This is a lot of work every single day. Thanks.